play is called Our Town. It was written by Thornton. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there behind our mountain. The morning star always gets wonderful bright the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I'd better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way back there's the railway station. Tracks go that way. Polish towns across the tracks, and some Canuck families. Over there is the Congregational Church. Across the street's the Presbyterian. Methodist and Unitarian are over there. Baptist down the hollow by the river. Catholic church is over beyond the tracks. Here's a town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. William Jennings Bryan once made a speech from these very steps here. Along here's a row of stores, hitching posts and horse blocks in front of them. The first automobile's going to be coming along in about 5 years. Belonged to Banker Cartwright, our richest citizen. Lives in the big white house over on the hill. This is Doc Gibbs' house, our doctor. This is the back door. There's some scenery, for those who think they have to have scenery. This is Mrs. Gibbs's garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. In those days, our town paper came out twice a week, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. This is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Just like Mrs. Gibbs's, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. Right here's a big butternut tree. This is the grocery store and Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Everybody manages to look at those two stores at least once a day. Public school is over yonder. High school is still farther over. 8:45 mornings, noon times, and 3 o'clock afternoons. The whole town can hear the young instrument from those schoolyards. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever come out of it, so far as we know. Earliest tombstones over the cemetery say 1670, 1680. They're Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as are around here today. Well, as I said, it's about dawn. The only lights on in town are in a cottage over by the tracks, where a Polish mother's just had twins, and in the Joe Crowell house, where Joe Jr. is getting up so to deliver the paper, and at the depot, where Trudy Hawkins is getting up to flag the 5:35 from Boston. Naturally, out in the country, all around, lights have been on for some time, what with milkmans and so on, but town people sleep late. So, another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, coming back from that baby case. And here's his wife coming downstairs to get breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. The new hospital is named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first, long time ago in fact, went out to visit her daughter Rebecca, He married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio, and died there, pneumonia. But her body's brought back here. She's there in the cemetery now, and with the whole mess of Gibbses and Herseys. She was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congregational Church over there. In our town, we look at the facts about everybody. Here's Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got that call at 1:30 this morning. And here comes Joe Crowell Jr., delivering the paper.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Anyone been sick, Doc?
No, just some twins born over in Polish Town.
Do you want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster, is getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
I declare! How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, it's none of our business. But I think if someone starts as a teacher, she ought to stay one.
How's your knee, Joe?
Fine, Doc. I never really think about it. Like you said, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it telling you today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Knee ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy Joe Crowell there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated high school here, head of his class. So we got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there too. It was all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time. Going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out and he died in France. All the education for nothing.
Giddy up, Bessie! What's the matter with you today?
And here comes Harry Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
No, just some twins born over to Mrs. Gorislowski's.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Going to rain, Howie?
No. Fine day, that'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Howie?
Going on 17. Bessie's all mixed up about the route ever since the Lockharts stopped taking their quart of milk every day. She wants to leave him a quart just the same. Keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Doc's just coming down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yes, something wrong with the separator. Don't know what was. Doc.
Howie?
Children, time to get up!
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca! Everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare. Easy as kids.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours of sleep, can't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming at 11. Guess I know what that's about, too. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish I could get you to go away someplace and take a real rest. I think it would do you some good.
Emily, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
I declare you've got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. George!
George, look sharp!
Yes, Pa.
Don't you hear your mother calling you? Guess I'll go upstairs and get 40 winks.
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, you wash yourself good or I'll come and do it myself. Ma, what dress shall I wear?
Shh! Your father's been out all night and needs his rest. I washed and ironed that blue gingham for you special.
Ma, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mama, George is throwing soap at me.
Shh! I'll come up there and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
We've got a factory in our town too. Hear it? Makes blankets. Cartwrights own it and it brought him a fortune.
Children, now I won't have it. Breakfast is just as important as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. It'll stunt your growth, that's a fact. Put away your book, Wally.
Mom, at 10 o'clock I gotta know about Canada.
You know the rules well as I do. No books at table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too, and I'm looking at my stamp collection.
I'll talk to your father about it when he's rested, but it seems to me 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual.
Well, dear, it's good to spend some every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in the world? Do you? Money.
Eat your breakfast.
Oh, Mama, get her. No, I don't want any more.
Walk past me, you don't have to run. Wally, pull up your pants at the knee. Get up straight, Emily.
Thomas Foster, I sent her my best congratulations. Can you remember that?
Yes, Mom.
Now, Rebecca, you look very nice. Pick up your feet.
Bye.
Here, chick, 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 chick. Here, chick, 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 chick. Oh, what's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. You don't belong to me. Where'd you come from? Oh, don't be scared. Nobody's going to hurt you. Oh, good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still get that tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know as I'd go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but somehow I can't manage to do that and stay on the key. While I'm resting myself, I thought I'd string some of these beans.
Beans have been good this year. Let me help you.
I decided to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but I noticed they're able to get them down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something. Because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
Here, give me some more of those beans. Did one of those secondhand furniture men from Boston come see you last Friday?
No?
Well, he called on me. First, I thought he was a patient wanting to see Doc Gibbs, and he wormed his way into my parlor, and Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy, as I'm just sitting here.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
He did that old thing. Why, it was so big I didn't know where to put it in. I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
I don't know.
You don't know? $350? What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doc to take the money and go away someplace, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. Oh, I don't know. It sounds stupid, I suppose, but I've been promising myself that if I ever had the chance...
How does the doctor feel about it?
Oh, you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he said, it might make him discontent with Grover's Corner to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years, he makes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War, and that's enough trip for anyone, he says.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon over to the Civil War, only Dr. Gibbs being one of the greatest experts in the country just makes him despair.
It's a fact. Doc is never so happy as when he's at Gettysburg or Antietam. The times I've been over those hills, stopping at every bush, pacing it all out like we were going to buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. And then you got to see Paris, all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it, but it seems to me that once in your life before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't speak English, and they don't want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to skip a few hours. But first, you want a little more information about the town. Kind of a scientific account, you might say. So I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to sketch in a few details of our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, our time here is limited.
Yes. Grover's Corners, let me see, lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that, you know, here. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings, but that's all more recent, about 200, 300 million years old. And we say we have lots of unique fossils. 2 miles out in Silas Packer's cow pasture. They can be seen anytime at our museum any regular time at the museum. Let's see. Shall I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, precipitation, etc., etc.?
I'm afraid we don't have time for that, Professor.
Oh.
Any words on the history of man?
Oh, yes. Anthropological data. Early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes, no evidence before the 10th century of this era, now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families. Migration toward the end of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock for the most part. Since then, some Slav, some Mediterranean.
And the population, Professor?
Oh, the population, yes. 2,640.
Just a moment, Professor.
Really? Fix that. The population at the moment is 2,642. And the postal district brings in 507 more, makes a total now of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant by McPherson's gauge should be 6.032.
Thank you, Professor. I'm sure we're all very much obliged to you.
Oh, not at all, sir. Not at all.
This way, Professor.
Oh, yes.
And thank you again. Now, the political and social report. Editor Webb? Oh, Mr. Webb.
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting.
May I introduce Mr. Webb, editor and publisher of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our town paper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21, women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men. 10% are literate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialist, rest, indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics, rest, indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most. Probably a lot duller too, but our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Mr. Webb any questions about the town?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, I wouldn't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights, the farm hands go down to Ellery Greenhouse Stable and holler some. We've got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing at home here. Except for the medicine chest. Right good for snakebite, you know. Always was.
Is there nobody in this town aware?
Come forward. Come forward, will you? Where we all can hear you. What were you saying?
Is there no one in this town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everybody is. Something terrible. Seems like all they do is talk about who's rich and who's poor.
Then what are they going to do about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all hunting like everybody else for a way the diligent and sensible can rise to the top, and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
No, ma'am, there ain't much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls that play piano at high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture. But maybe this is the type of place to tell you that we've got a lot of pleasures of a kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the mornings, and we all notice a good deal about the birds. We pay close attention to them. And we watch the change of seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, you're right, ma'am, there ain't much. Robinson Crusoe and the Bible and Handel's Largo, we all know that. And Whistler's Mother. Those are just about as far as we go.
So I thought. Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now, back to the town. All 2,642 have had their dinners, and all the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in our town. Horses dozing at the hitching posts, only a few buggies on Main Street, a humming and a buzzing coming from the school building. You all remember what it's like. Doc Gibbs in his office, tapping people and making them say, ah. Mr. Webb is cutting his lawn. 1 minute in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower. No, sir. It's better than I thought. They're the children coming home from school now.
I can't, Lois. I've got to go home and tell my mother. I promised. Goodbye.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you tell me to stand straight, and the next minute you're calling me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Oh, excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Go out and play in the fields, young man. You got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why, can you?
You certainly do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how you can sit still that long. I guess you like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah,
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
yeah. Emily, what do you think? We might work out a kind of telegraph system from your window to mine. And every once in a while, you could give me a kind of hint or two about one of those algebra problems. Oh, I don't mean the answers, Emily. Of course not. Just a little hint.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you get stuck, George, you whistle to me, and I'll give you some hints.
Emily, you're just naturally bright, I guess.
Well, I figure it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says that whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, thanks. I better be getting out to the baseball field. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come help me string some of these beans for the winter. George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, he's growing up. How old would George be?
I don't know.
Let's see. He must be almost 16.
Mom, I made a speech in class today, and I was really good.
You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off a spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously. Will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Yes, of course you are. All my children have good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I've already told you yes. Now enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face. I've never heard of such foolishness.
Oh, Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, I was, if I do say it. Why, I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mammy Cartwright.
But Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody, to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now, stop it. You're pretty for all normal purposes. Come along now and bring that bowl with you.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you. That'll do. We'll have to interrupt again here. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. There are a few more things we want to explore about this town. I think this is a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have just begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go to Vermont for the marble, sorry to say. And they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. So putting in a copy of the New York Times and a copy of Mr. Webb's Sentinel. We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellows have found a way to paint all that reading matter with a glue, a silicate glue, that'll make it keep 2,000 years. We're putting in a Bible and the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it, yet all we know about them is names of the kings, and wheat contracts, and contracts for the sale of slaves. Yet, every night, all those families sat down to supper, the father came home from work, and smoking up the chimney, same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life of the people is what we can piece together out of the joking poems and comedies they wrote for the theater back then. So, I'm going to have a copy of this play put into the cornerstone so the people 1,000 years from now can know a few simple facts about us, more than the Treaty of Versailles, the Lindbergh flight. See what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, and in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. Well, a good deal of time's gone by. It's evening. Can you choir practice over in the Congregational Church? The children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day's running down like a tired clock.
Now look here, everybody. Music come into the world to give pleasure. Softer. Softer. Get it out of your heads that music's only good when it's loud. You leave the loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat 'em if you wanted to. Now again, tenors.
Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Can you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer is in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wallpaper. Oh, I see. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? And choir practice going on? I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Katukuk. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I'd better go back and try to work.
Good night, Emily, and thanks.
Good night, George.
Now, before I forget, how many of you can come in Tuesday and sing at Fred Hersey's wedding? Show your hands.
be good. That'll be right nice. We'll do the same music we did for Jane Trowbridge's last month. Now we'll do Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Languid. It's the question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk. Ready?
George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Pa.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only give you a minute. George, how old are you?
I'm 16, almost 17.
What do you want to do when school is over?
Why, you know, Pa, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
And you'll be willing, will you, to wake up early and milk and feed the stock, and you'll be able to hoe and hay all day?
Sure I will. What do you mean, Pa?
Well, when I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think that was? It was your mother chopping wood. There you see your mother, waking up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing. And still, she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood? I suppose she just got tired of asking you. She just gave up and decided it was just easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals and put on the clothes that she keeps nice for you. And you run off and play baseball? Like she's some hired girl we keep around the house, but that we don't like very much? Well, George, I knew all I had to do was bring your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a present you give her, but because you're getting older. And I imagine there are lots of things you must find to do.
Thanks, Pa.
Let's see. Tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Probably Rebecca will feel like she ought to get some more, too. Wonder what happened to your mother. Choir practice never was as late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
I don't know why she's in that old choir anyway. She hasn't any more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the streets at this hour of the night. Just about time you retire, don't you think?
Yes, Pa.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mrs. Foster. I'll tell Mr. Webb. I know he wants to put it in the paper.
My, it's late.
Good night, Irma.
Real nice practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Webb, look at that moon, will ya? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word to any of those others. But now we're alone. Really, it's the worst scandal there ever was in this town.
What?
Sarah Stimson.
Now, Luella.
But Julia, to have the organist of church drink and drunk year after year. You know she was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mrs. Stimson and the trouble she's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps her on there in her job, then the only thing for the rest of us to do is just not notice it.
Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir practice twice as long as you have. It doesn't happen anywhere near so often. I hate to go to bed on a night like this. I better hurry. The children will be staying up till all hours. Good night, Luella.
Good night.
Can you get home safe, Luella?
It's as bright as day. I can see Mr. Soames scowling out the window now. You'd think we'd have been to a dance the way the men folk carry on.
Well, we had a real nice night.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it isn't later than usual.
And you stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens.
Oh, don't be so grouchy. Come outside and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. Isn't it wonderful? What did you do with the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Well, believe me, Frank, there was something to gossip about.
Sarah Stimson far gone, was she?
Worst I've ever seen her. How will that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive her forever.
I guess I know more about Sarah Stimson's affairs than anybody else in this town. Some people just ain't made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but there's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Come, get in.
No, No, Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to make a plan for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist on it.
Now, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Oh, Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Come on, Julia. It's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll be getting your wood chopped for a while anyway. No. Start getting upstairs.
Oh, dear, there's always so much to pick up, seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild locks her front door every night. All the people up that part of town do.
They're all just getting cityfied. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got anything fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one of us at this window. You're always spoiling everything.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, you know what I think, do you? I think maybe the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon was getting nearer, the guys that sit up all night with telescopes would see it first, and they'd tell about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
"9:30. Most of the lights are out. No, there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite the moon.
Yep.
All quiet tonight?
Well, Sarah Stimson's rolling around a little bit. Saw Mr. Stimson a little while ago heading down to go hunt her down, so I looked the other way. There she is now.
Good evening, Sarah. Seems like most of the town settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening. Yes, most of the town settled down for the night. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along a ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's gonna end, Mr. Webb.
Well, she's seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. Oh, Bill, if you see my boy smoking cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
Oh, I don't think he smokes no cigarettes. Well, leastways no more than 2 or 3 a year.
I hope not. Well, good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why aren't you in bed?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet. My, isn't the moonlight wonderful? And the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope? Can you smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? Oh, no.
Well, enjoy yourself, but don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about the letter Jane Crofit got from her minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope the address went like this. It said, Jane Crofit, Crofit Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, the United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, the continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act, friends. Years have gone by. The sun's come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountain a little bit more, and the rains brought down some more of the dirt. Some babies who weren't even born before have begun talking regular sentences. And a number of people who thought they were right in this bride have noticed that they can't bound over the stairs like they used to, that their heart's fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways as well. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Yes, the mountain's been bit away a few fractions of an inch. Millions of gallons of water went by the mill, and here and there, a new home was set up under a roof. Most everybody in the world gets married. You know what I mean? In our town, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Almost everybody climbed into their graves married. The first act was called the daily life. This act is called love and marriage. There's another act coming after this. I reckon you can guess what that's about. So, it's 3 years later. It's 1904. It's July 7th, just after high school commencement. That's the time most of our young people jump up and get married. As soon as they've passed their last examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's orations. Looks like they suddenly found themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs's garden and Mrs. Webb's garden, drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines, drenched. All day yesterday, the sky looked like curtains being blown along. Maybe in any minute. There, the 5:45 for Boston. Here's Mrs. Gibbs coming downstairs to get her breakfast. And Mrs. Webb, too. Like it's an ordinary day. I don't have to tell the women in the audience that those ladies, both those ladies, cooked 3 meals a day. One of them for 20 years, the other for 40. And no summer vacation. They brought up 2 children apiece. Cleaned, washed, and never a nervous breakdown. It's like what one of those Midwest poets said. You got to have life to love life. You got to love life to have life. It's what they call a vicious circle.
Giddy up, Bessie!
Here comes Howie Newsome delivering the milk. And that's Cy Crowell delivering the papers like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Cy. Anything in the paper I don't know about today?
Nothing, but Grover's Corner's losing the best baseball pitchers we've ever had. George Gibbs.
I reckon he is.
He could hit and run bases too.
Yep, mighty fine ball player. Well, Bessie, I guess I can stop and talk if I have a mind to.
I don't understand how he could give up just such a thing just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell, Cy. Never had no talent that way. You're up early, Bill.
Yeah, trying to see if I can prevent a flood. The water's been rising all night.
Cy Kroll here is all worked up about that George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Oh, well, that's the way it goes. Listen here, Cy. We had a guy back in the day that couldn't even touch George Gibbs. Named by the Hank Todd. Was a heck of a pitcher. Heck of a player. He turned around and he went down to Boston and he became a parson. Yep, well, that's the way it goes. How do you think the weather's going to be today?
It ain't bad. I think maybe it'll clear up for good.
Good morning, Howie. Do you think it's going to rain again?
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. It rained so hard, I think maybe it'll clear up for good.
Certainly hope it will.
How much do you want today?
It looks like I'm going to have a house full of relations, so I'll need 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
My wife says to tell you is how we hope they'll both be very happy, Mrs. Gibbs. No, they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie. Tell your wife I hope she makes it there to the wedding.
She'll be there. She'll be there if she can.
Good morning, Mr. Newsome. I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes, and the 2 of cream.
Will it start raining again, Mr. Newsome?
Well, I was just telling Mrs. Gibbs how it might stop for a while. Mrs. Newsome told me to tell you is how we hope they'll both be very happy, Mrs. Webb. You know they will.
Thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Newsome. And we're all counting on seeing you at the wedding.
Yes, we'll be there. Couldn't miss that. Come on, Bessie.
Well, Ma, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute. Sit down and drink your coffee.
shaving himself. Only there ain't an awful lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says, "I do," to the mirror. But it don't sound convincing to me.
I declare, I don't know how he'll get along. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it he's put warm things on. Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such a thing. He'll catch his death of cold within a week.
I was just remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Now don't start with that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scaredest fella in all of New Hampshire. I thought I'd make a mistake for sure. But when I saw you coming down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. But the only trouble was I'd never seen you before. There I was, standing in the Congregational Church, marrying a total stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Here, I've made something for you.
Why, Julia Hersey? French toast.
It ain't hard to make, and I had to do something.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
I heard a lot of the hours struck off.
Yes! I get a shock every time I think of George setting out to be a family man. That great, gangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there's nothing more terrifying in the world than a son. The relation of father and son is the darndest, awkwardest.
Well, mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They'll have their troubles, I suppose, but that's none of our business. Everybody has a right to their own troubles.
Yes, people are meant to go through life 2 by 2. Tain't natural to be lonesome.
Do you know what I was scared of when I first married you, Julia?
Oh, go along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have material for conversation more than last us a few weeks. I was afraid we'd run out and eat our meals in silence, that's a fact. Well, you and I have been conversing for more than 20 years without any noticeable barren spells.
Yes, good weather, bad weather, tain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
No, only day of the year Rebecca hasn't been up there managing everybody's business. She's in her room. I got the impression she's crying.
Lord's sake, this has got to stop. Rebecca, Rebecca, come get breakfast.
Good morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to live.
Now, George Gibbs, where do you think you're going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
Now, George, you put on your overshoes. It's raining torrents. You don't leave this house without you're prepared for it.
Ah, Ma, it's just a step.
Now, George, you'll catch a death of cold and cough all through the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
Tomorrow you can kill yourself in all the weathers, but while you live in my house, you'll live wisely. Thank you. Maybe Mrs. Webb isn't used to callers at 7 in the morning. Here, take a cup of coffee first.
Be back in a minute. Good morning, Mother Webb.
Goodness, you frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute out of the wet, but you know I can't ask you in.
Why not?
George, you know as well as I do. The groom can't see his bride on his wedding day. Not until he sees her in church.
Ah, that's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Webb, you don't believe in that superstition, do you?
Well, there's a lot of common sense in some superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, George, and you don't want to be the first to fall in the face of custom.
How is Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. I haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
No wonder. We were up till all hours, sewing and packing. Now, George, I'll tell you what I'll do. You sit down here a minute with Mr. Webb and drink this cup of coffee. And I'll go upstairs and see she doesn't come down and surprise you. There's some coffee too, but don't be long about it.
Well, George, how are you?
Oh, fine. I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on her wedding day, a girl's head apt to be full of clothes and one thing or another. Don't you think it could be that?
Yes, I never thought of that.
A girl apt to be a mite nervous on her wedding day.
I wish a fellow could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man who's ever lived has felt that way about it, George. But it hasn't been any use. It's the women folk who build up weddings, my boy. For a while now, the women have it all their own. A man looks pretty small at a wedding, George. All those women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure that the knot's tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh yes, and don't you misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing, and don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you'd see, I'd been away to college, and it'd taken a little time to get settled. But Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than what Emily is now. Oh, age hasn't much to do with it, George, not compared with the other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know. Was I going to say something? George, I was thinking the other day of some advice my father gave me when I got married. Charles, he said, start out early showing who's boss, he said. Best thing to do is to give an order, even if it don't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. And he said, if anything about your wife irritates you, her conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house. That'll make it clear to her. Oh yes, and he said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Well, Mr. Webb,
I took the opposite of my father's advice, and I've been happy ever since. And let that be a lesson to you, George. Never ask for advice on personal matters. George, are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
What?
Are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
Uncle Luke's never been much interested.
What came into my office the other day, George, on the file system of raising chickens? I want you to read it. I'm thinking of beginning in a small way in the backyard, and I'm going to put an incubator in the cellar.
Charles, are you talking about that old incubator again? Because I thought you two were talking about things worthwhile.
Oh, Myrtle, if you want to give the boy some good advice, I'll go upstairs and leave you alone with him.
George, Emily's got to come downstairs and eat her breakfast. She sends you her love, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, Myrtle, I guess you don't know about that older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the cavemen, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding or near it. Now remember that.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. And I'm going to have to interrupt again here. You see, you want to know how all this began. This wedding, this plan to spend a lifetime together. I'm awfully interested in how big things like that begin. You know how it is. You're 21 or 22, and you make some decisions. Then, whoosh, you're 70. You've been a lawyer for over 50 years, and that white-haired lady by your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? George and Emily are going to show you now the conversation they had when they first knew that as the saying goes, they were meant for one another. But first, I want you to think back to the days when you were young, and particularly to the days when you were first in love. When you were like a person sleepwalking, and you didn't quite know what street you were in, and you didn't quite hear everything that was said to you. You're just a little bit crazy. Will you remember that, please? Now, let me come out of high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president of the junior class. And as it's June, he'll be president of the senior class all next year. Emily's been elected secretary and treasurer too. I don't have to tell you how important that is. Yup, there they are, coming down Main Street now.
I can't, Louise. I've got to go home. Goodbye. Oh, Ernestine, will you come over tonight? Tell me with Latin. Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? Tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Can I carry your books home for you, Emily?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
Excuse me a minute, Emily. Say, Bob, if I'm a little late, start practice anyway. And give Herb some long high ones.
Goodbye, Lizzie.
Goodbye, Lizzie. Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, I might as well say it straight out. Goodbye, Miss Corcoran.
Goodbye, Miss Corcoran. What is it?
I don't like this whole change that's come over you this past year. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I've got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot and used to watch you. You did everything. Because we've been friends so long. And then you started spending all your time at baseball. And you didn't stop to speak to anybody anymore. Not even your own family you didn't. And George, it's a fact. You've gotten awful conceited and stuck up. And all the girls say so. They may not say so to your face, but they say so behind your back. And it hurts me to hear them say it, but I've got to agree with them a little. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I'm glad you said it, Emily. I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fella not to have faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I feel it's the other way around. That boys aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, you might as know right now that I am not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be as perfect as a man. Because we girls are more nervous. Oh no, I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily.
Now I see it's not the truth at all, and I suddenly feel it isn't important anyway.
Emily, would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
Thank you. I would.
Oh, hello, Stu. How are you? Good afternoon, Mrs. Slocum.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What do you have? Why, Emily Webb, what you been crying about?
She just got an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. She almost got run over by the hardware store wagon. Everybody says that Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Why? Emily Webb, you take a drink of water. I tell ya, Main Street ain't what it used to be. Gets worse every year. What do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
No, Emily. Have an ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mr. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are 125 horses in Grover's Corners this minute I'm talking to you. State inspector was in here yesterday, and I was talking about bringing in these automobiles. Psh. The best thing to do is just stay home. Psh. Why? I can remember when a dog would sleep all day in the middle of Main Street. Shh. Shh. And nothing come along to disturb him. There they are. Enjoy them. As Miss Zealous, what can I do for you?
They're so expensive.
No, Emily. Don't you think of that. We're celebrating our election. And do you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who tells me all the things that ought to be told me.
Oh, George, please don't think of that. I don't know what made me say it. It's not true. You're...
No, Emily. You stick to it. I'm glad you spoke to me like you did. But you'll see. I'm going to change so quick. You bet I'm going to change. And Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
If I go away to State Agriculture College next year, will you write me a letter once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems that being away 3 years, you get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't seem so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of all New Hampshire, but I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything that's happening here. I know that's true, Emily.
Well, I'll try to keep my letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture school to be a good farmer.
Why, George?
Yeah, and some of them say it's even a waste of time. You can get all those things anyway out of the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start in taking over the farm tomorrow if I could.
My!
And like you say, being gone all the time, in other places, and meeting other people, gosh, if anything like that can happen, I don't want to go away. I guess new people aren't any better than old ones. I'll bet they almost never are. Emily, I feel you're as good a friend as I've got. I don't need to go and meet the people in other towns.
But, George, maybe it is very important for you to learn all about cattle judging and soils and those things. Of course I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
Why, George, I don't see why you have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that fault in my character. What you said was right, but there was one thing wrong in it, and that was when you said that for a year I wasn't noticing people. And you, for instance, why you say you were watching me when I did everything? Well, I was doing the same about you, all the time. Why, sure, I always thought about you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always knew where you were sitting on the bleachers, and who you were with. And for 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you, but something's always got in the way. Yesterday, I was standing against the wall waiting for you, and you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
George! Life's awful funny. How could I have known that? Why, I thought...
Emily, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agriculture school. I think that once you found a person you're very fond of, I mean, a person who's fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college is, and even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important too.
Emily?
Yes, George?
If I do improve and make a big change, would you be, could you be?
I am now. I always have been.
So I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
Wait just a minute, and I'll walk you home. Mr. Morgan, I'll have to go home and get the money to pay for this. It'll only take me a minute.
Why, George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me that...
Yes, but I had reasons, Mr. Morgan. Look, here's my gold watch to keep until I come back with the money.
Keep your watch, George. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George. Not a day over. Got all over your sock, Emily.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Morgan. It was nothing.
I'm ready.
Well, now we're ready to get on with the wedding. There are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. There are a lot of thoughts that go on during a wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding naturally, and especially not into a wedding at Grover's Corners, where they're awfully plain and short. In this wedding, I play the minister. That gives me the right to say a few more things about it. For a while now, the play gets pretty serious. You see, some churches say that marriage is a sacrament. I don't quite know what that means, but I can guess. It's like what Mrs. Gibbs said a moment ago. People were made to live 2 by 2. This is a good wedding, but even at a good wedding, people are so put together that there's a lot of confusion way down deep in people's minds. We thought that ought to be in our wedding, too. The real hero of this scene isn't on the stage at all, and you know who that is. It's like what one of those European fellas said. Every child born into the world is nature's attempt at creating a perfect human being. Well, we've seen nature pushing and contriving for some time now. We all know nature's interested in quantity, but I think she's interested in quality also. That's why I'm in the ministry. And don't forget the other witnesses at this wedding. The ancestors. Millions of them. Most of them set out to live 2 by 2 also. Millions of them. Well, that's all my sermon. It wasn't very long anyway.
I don't know why on earth I should be crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. It came over me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily, eating her breakfast as she's done for 17 years, and now she's going over to eat it in someone else's house? I suppose that's it. And Emily! She suddenly said, "I can't eat another mouthful." And she put her head down on the table and she cried. Oh, I've got to say it. You know, there's something downright cruel about sending our girls into marriage this way. I hope her girlfriends have told her a thing or two. It's cruel, I know, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I went into it blind as about myself. The whole world's wrong, that's what's the matter. There they come.
George, what's the matter?
Ma, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
Why, George, you wanted this.
No, Ma, listen to me.
No, George, you're a man now.
No, listen, Ma. For the last time I ask you, all I want to do is be a fella.
George, if anyone should hear you. Now stop. Why, I'm ashamed of you.
What? Where's Emily?
George, you gave me such a turn.
Aw, Ma, come on, I'm getting married.
Give me a minute to catch my breath.
Now, Ma, you save Thursday nights. Emily and I are coming over to dinner every Thursday night. You'll see. Ma, what are you crying for? Come on, we've got to get ready for this.
So alone in my whole life. And George over there looking so. I hate him. I wish I were dead. Papa!
Emily, now don't get upset.
But Papa, I don't want to get married.
Emily, everything's all right.
Why can't I stay for a while, just as I am? Let's go away.
No, Emily. Now stop and think a minute.
Don't you remember you used to say all the time, that I was your girl? There must be lots of places we could go to. I could work for you. I could keep house.
You mustn't think of such things, Emily. You're just nervous. George, will you come here a minute? Why, you're marrying the best young fellow in the world. George is a fine fellow.
Papa.
I'm giving away my daughter, George. Do you think you can take care of her?
Mr. Webb, I want to. I want to try. Emily, I'm going to do my best. I love you, Emily. I need you.
Well, if you love me, help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And I mean forever. You hear? Forever and ever.
Come, you're waiting for us. Now you know it'll be all right. Come on.
Do you, George, take this woman Emily to be your wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day?
Perfectly lovely wedding. Loveliest wedding I ever saw. Oh, I do love a good wedding, don't you? Doesn't she make a lovely bride?
I do.
And do you, Emily, take this man George to be your wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward?
Don't know when I've seen such a nice wedding, but I always cry. Don't know why it is, but I always cry. I just like seeing young people happy, don't you? Oh, I think it's lovely.
I've married over 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? I don't know. M marries N. Millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart, the Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford, the first rheumatism, the grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times it's interesting. Well, let's have Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
Aren't they a lovely couple? Oh, I've never seen such a nice wedding. I'm sure they'll be happy. I always say, happiness. That's the great thing. The important thing is to be happy.
That's all the second act, folks. 10 minutes intermission. This time, 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer, 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses getting rarer, farmers coming to town in Fords. Everybody locks their house doors now at night. Ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about 'em. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon, and you can see range on range of hills. Awful blue they are, up there by Lake Sanape and Lake Winnipesaukee, and way up, if you've got a glass, you see the White Mountains and Mount Washington, where North Conway and Conway is. And of course, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnock's right here, and the towns that lie around it, Jaffrey and East Jaffrey, and Peterborough and Dublin. And there, quite a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Yes, beautiful spot up here, mountain laurel and lilac. I often wonder why people like to be buried in Woodlawn and Brooklyn, when they might pass the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over there are the Old Stones, 1670, 1680, strong-minded people that come a long way to be independent. And genealogists come up from Boston, get paid by city people to look up their ancestors. They want to make sure they're daughters of the American Revolution and of the Mayflower. I guess that don't do any harm. Anywhere you come in the human race, there's layers on layers of nonsense. Over here are some Civil War veterans, iron flags in their graves. New Hampshire boys had a notion the Union ought to be kept together, but they never see more than 50 miles with themselves. all they knew was a name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America. And they went and died about it. Here's a new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs. And let me see. Mrs. Stimson, the organist at the church. And Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so. Oh, and a lot of others. And Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst on a Boy Scout trip to North Conway. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow has sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief. Have other relatives here. You know how it is. And then time, and sunny days, and rainy days, and snow. And we're all glad they're in a beautiful spot like this, and we know we'll be here as well when our fit's over. There are a few things we all know, but we don't take them out looking very often. Everyone knows that something's eternal, and it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. Everybody knows in their bones that something's eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people ever lived have been telling us that for over 5,000 years, and yet you'd be surprised how often people keep losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal in every human being. You and I both know the dead don't stay interested in those living people for very long. Gradually, they lose hold of the earth and the ambitions they had and the pleasures they had and the things they suffered and the people they loved. They get weaned away from earth, that's the way I put it, weaned away. And they stay here while the earth part of them burns away, burns out. And all that time they slowly get indifferent to what's going on here in Grover's Corners. They're waiting for something that they feel is coming, something important and great. Aren't they waiting for that eternal part of it to come out clear? Some of the things they say might hurt your feelings a little bit, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser. All those terribly important things sort of grow pale around here. And what's left when memory is gone and your identity, Mrs. Smith? Well, there are some living people around here. There's Sir Tuttard, our undertaker, supervising a new made grave. And here comes the Grover's Corners boy, returning from out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Now, let me see. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Well, gracious sakes alive, Sam. I didn't figure you would be here for the funeral. You've been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, I've been away for over 12 years now. I have a business out in Buffalo now, Joe. Oh. But I was in the West when I got news of my cousin's death, so I decided to combine things a little and come and see the old home. Well, you look well.
Oh, yes. Terrible journey we have to take today, Sam.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. I always say I hate to supervise when a young life is taken. Well, they should be here any minute. All I can say... My son's supervising the home, so I had to come in a little early today.
Old Farmer McCarty. I used to do chores for him after school. He had the lumbago.
Yeah, Farmer McCarty, we brought him here a few years back.
And why? This is my Aunt Julia. I had forgotten that she, of course.
Well, Doc Gibbs' wife passed away about 2-3 years ago. Right about this time. And today's another bad day for him as well.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Sarah.
Do they choose their own verses much, Joe?
No, not usual. Usually the bereaved pick a verse.
Doesn't sound like my Aunt Julia. There aren't many of those Hersey sisters left now. Now let me see. I wanted to find my mother and father's.
Well, they're over there by the section in Avenue F.
Used to be an organist at church, wasn't she? Huh. Drank a lot, we used to say.
Well, nobody was supposed to know about that. She'd seen a peck of trouble in her day. Took her own life, you know.
Oh, did she?
Oh, hung herself in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but you know that got out. She chose her own epitaph. Not exactly a verse, but you can see it right there.
Why, it's just some notes of music. What is it?
Oh, I wouldn't know, but it was written up in the Boston papers at the time.
What did she die of, Joe?
Who?
My cousin.
Oh, you didn't know. She had some trouble bringing a baby into this world. Her second one. She did have a son, though. He's about 4 years old now.
The grave's gonna be over there.
Oh, yes, there ain't much more room over here in the Gibbs section, so they're gonna start a whole new Gibbs section over there by Avenue B. Well, you'll have to excuse me now, because here they come.
Who is it, Julia?
It's my daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
I declare. The road up here must have been awful money. How did she die, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth. I'd forgotten all about that. My, wasn't life awful and wonderful?
Wonderful. Was it?
Sarah, now remember.
I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? And I remember her reading the class poems at graduation exercises. Emily was one of the brightest girls to ever graduate from high school. I heard Principal Wilkins say so time after time. I called to them once at their new farm just before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm.
Hello.
Hello, Emily.
Hello. Hello, Mother Gibbs. Emily? Hello.
It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone soon, dear. Just rest yourself.
Feels thousands and thousands of years since Papa remembered that was my favorite hymn. Oh, I wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being new here. How do you do, Mrs. Stimson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I made that farm into just the best place you've ever seen. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and the great long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We bought that out of the money you left us.
I did?
Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs? The legacy you left us? Why, it was over $350.
Yes. Yes, Emily.
Well, there's a patent device on the drinking fountain so that it never overflows. And it never sinks below a certain mark they have there. It's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. A lot of people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in their little boxes, aren't they? Feel as if I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boy is spending the day at Mrs. Carter's. Oh, Mr. Carter, my little boy is spending the day at your house.
Is he?
Yes, he loves it there. Mother gives me before, too. Never gives any trouble. I don't drive, though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Of being one of them? How long does it...
Shh, dear. Just wait and be patient.
I know. Look, they're finished. They're going. Look, Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Oh, I never realized before how in the dark and how how troubled live persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, it's all they are. Troubled.
A little cooler than it was. Yes, that rain has cooled it off a little. The northeast winds always do the same things, don't they?
If it isn't a rain, it's a 3-day blow.
But Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there into living. I feel it. I know it. Why, just then for a moment I was thinking about the farm. And for a minute I was there. And my baby was on my lap as plain as day.
Yes, of course you can.
I can go back there and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't do it.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Yes, some do. But they soon come back here.
Emily, don't do it.
Emily, don't. It's not what you think it'll be.
But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew that I loved George. Why should that be painful?
Because you not only live it, but you watch yourself living it.
Yes?
And as you watch it, you see the things that they, down there, will never know. You see the future. You know what's going to happen.
But is that painful? Why?
That's not the only reason why you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll understand that our life here is to forget all of that and think of what's ahead and be ready for what's ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how can I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had.
Emily, it isn't wise. Really, it isn't.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No, at least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day in your life, and that will be important enough.
Then it can't be since I was married, or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday at least, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right, February 11th, 1899, a Tuesday. Would you like any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
All right, begin at dawn. You remember it had been snowing for several days, but it stopped the night before. It's clearing now. The sun's coming up.
Look! There's Main Street. Oh, and that's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes, it's 1899. This is 14 years ago.
That's the town I knew as a little girl. And look! There's the old white fence that used to be around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. Oh, I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes. Mother will be coming downstairs to get breakfast.
Will she?
And you remember, your father had been away for several days. He came back on the early morning train.
No.
He'd gone out to make his speeches at Old College in Western New York, at Clinton.
Look! There's Howie Newsome. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Giddy up, Bessie! What's the matter with you today? You're up early, Bill.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Bill.
Been rescuing a party down there froze to death down by Polish Town there. Got drunk and lay out in the snowdrifts. Thought he was in bed when I shook him.
Why, there's Joe Kroll.
Children, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
Mom, I'm here! Oh, how young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young.
You can come and dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry. Oh, good morning, Mr. Newsome. Whew, it's cold.
10 below by my barn, Mrs. Webb.
Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you special. On the dresser there. If it were a snake, it would bite you.
Yes. Yes.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early.
Yes, well, I've just been back to my old college in New York State. Everything all right here?
Well, I was called up this morning to rescue a Polish fella, darn near froze to death he was.
We must get that in the paper.
Oh, 'twasn't much.
Good morning, Mother.
How did it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Yes. Can't think of anything that's happened special. How Newsom says it's 10 below over to his barn.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. It ain't Christian. Paper have any mistakes in it?
None that I noticed. Product's ready when you want it. Oh, Charles, don't forget it's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something?
Yes, I got something here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. You can see her at breakfast. She's slow enough as it is. Hurry up, children. It's 7 o'clock. Now I don't want to call you again.
I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why do they ever have to grow old? Mama, I'm here. I'm grown up. I love you all, everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well now, dear, a very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There are some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. I can't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up and be a good, strong girl. That and the blue paper is from your Aunt Carrie. And I reckon you guessed about the postcard album. Found it on the doorstep when I brought in the milk. George Gibbs. Must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right nice of him.
Oh, George, I'd forgotten that.
Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama, just look at me 1 minute as though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. You're a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead, too. His appendix burst on a camping trip to North Conway. We felt just terrible about it. Don't you remember? But just for a moment now, we're all together. Mama, just for a moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
That and the yellow paper is something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear now, and I thought you'd like it.
And this is from you. My mom, it's just lovely. Just what I wanted.
Well,
It's beautiful.
well, I hoped you'd like it. Hunted all over. Our Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I just sent all the way to Boston. Wally has something for you, too. He made it in an annual training class, and he's very proud of it. Make sure to make a big fuss about it. Your father has a surprise for you, too. Don't know what it is myself. Shh, here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't go on. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on, and we never noticed. Take me back, up the hill to my grave. But first, wait! One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mama, Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and food and coffee and new iron dresses and hot baths and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to ever realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?
No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do some.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are. Just blind people.
Look, it's clearing up. Stars are coming out.
Oh, Mrs. Simpson, I should have listened to them.
Yes, now you know. Now you know that's what it was like to be alive. To move about in a cloud of ignorance, going up and down, trampling on the feelings of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. To be always at the mercy of some self-centered passion or another. Now you know that's the happy existence you wanted to go back to. Ignorance and blindness.
Sarah, that ain't the whole truth and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
My boy Joel was a sailor. Knew 'em all. He used to sit on the porch in the evenings and tell 'em all by name. Yes, sir. Wonderful.
A star's mighty good company.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Here's one of them coming.
That's funny. It ain't a good time for one of them to be here.
Mother,
Goodness sakes.
Mother Gibbs. It's George.
Shh, dear, just rest yourself.
It's George.
And my boy Joel, who knew the stars, he used to say that it took millions of years for that one speck of light to get down to Earth. Don't know how a body can believe it, but that's what he used to say. Millions of years.
Goodness, that ain't no way to behave.
He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs.
Yes, Emily?
They don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They do not understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. There are a few lights on. Trudy Hawkins on the depot has just watched the Albany train go by. And at the livery stable, somebody's sitting up late and talking. Yes, it's clearing up. There are the stars, doing their old crisscross journey across the sky. Scholars haven't solved the matter yet, but they seem to think there are no living beings up there, just chalk or fire. Only this one is stranding away all the time to make something of itself. The strain so bad that every 16 hours, everybody lies down and gets a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. You gotta go to rest too. Good night. Blackout.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody today? Alrighty. I'd like to welcome everyone to our opening show of the 2019-2020 season of the Barrack Drama Department. And for those of you that do not know me, my name is Dewey Oriente. I am the head of the Drama Department, and welcome. Okay, so I want to let you know of some of our upcoming shows. Our next show, happening in February, will be our student-directed show, which will be Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, directed by Rivka Wyner, who was one of our seniors this year. Following that will be Disney's Frozen Jr. as the middle school musical. And that will be in the beginning of March. And then closing out our season, our upper school musical this year will be The Mystery of Edwin Drood, the Solve It Yourself musical. Just in case you're wondering, you may not have heard about the show, but it's based on a Charles Dickens novel. Charles Dickens died before he finished the novel. So the audience chooses the killers and the detectives, and they choose the ending of the musical. So it's a lot of fun, and we hope you will join us for that. So that's our exciting season, and if you are not already, there will be at the ticket table, we are still offering our season tickets. Season tickets save you 20% off the regular ticket price, and it includes all 4 of the main stage shows, and it also includes reserved seating for you if you are a season ticket holder. Okay, so it's $54 for all 4 shows. So please see the Simons or whomever might be at the ticket table for selling the season tickets, because I'm not sure who's here today. I also would like to take this moment to introduce to you our stage crew. You see all the actors on stage, and they get their recognition, but we have our people in black that are behind the scenes making all of the actors look good and making sure that the light is on them when it's supposed to be. So starting in this back corner on Spotlight is Marcus Cantor. Inside our lighting booth, running the light board, is Eden Izvisky. And in the back, right in the center, is our Barrack Drama Department parent and official photographer. Oh, hi, all the old faces. Hi, hi. Jonathan Prusky, who is videotaping and is also our photographer for the drama department. And our illustrious stage manager, Sophia who runs the whole show from the booth. Running sound next to her is Rafi Hammermesh. And on stage right is Leora Levine. Did she stick her head out at least? No. But there she is. Okay, quickly, just so you know, please keep the aisles clear at all times, as the actors will be using them for entrances and exits. There are no flash pictures during the show. It's distracting to those sitting around you and dangerous to the actors on stage. There will be 2 intermissions. At the end of Act 1, there will be 1 10-minute intermission. At the end of Act 2, there will be a 5-minute intermission. At that time, we will, as you were coming in, you got a little raffle ticket, and we will be raffling off a ticket to our next show. So don't lose your little tickets. Thanks so much, and enjoy Thornton Wilder's Our Town.